healthier, better.
Liam, I appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Don't mind my voice. I was training yesterday and I was yelling at like 20 kids. So like, I'm not sick or anything like that. My voice is a little gone.
You sound
so
good.
This is my like sexy call voice. All right. So my apology to the audience. I'll try to speak as clearly as possible. So you brought us some goodies.
Yeah.
So what did you bring us?
So this is called our Boost Plus product. It's got psilocybin, so very similar.
Not to be confused with psilocybin.
You got it.
Okay.
So it breaks down into your body into psilocin, just like psilocybin. Two separate things. They do the same thing when ingested. I prefer this one for a few reasons. One being the consistency of it. Mm-hmm. When you take actual psilocybin, depending on what mushroom you take and then what part of that mushroom is in the capsule, you're going to get different amounts of psilocin. So I had an experience when I first started about 5 years ago where one day I would take it, felt great. Another day I wouldn't feel it much. And another day I'd be in my office. I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit high, let's just say.
Yeah.
And, when you're using it from a human optimization standpoint, consistency is super important. So that's definitely one of the reasons. And then there's no gut rot as well. A lot of people experience gut rot with actual psilocybin. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, with this, it's already broken down and your gut doesn't have to break down the actual matter. Mm-hmm. And then from a legality standpoint as well. That's why I
love the packaging. It's really smooth.
Thank you.
And then you brought some element tea.
Yes.
I love you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to take some now.
Let's do it.
Okay. So what's the suggestion to this? How many you should take?
I would take one. I would take one depending on kind of what you're doing. When you're doing something like this, one is great. If you have, let's say, more of a tolerance, you can definitely take two.
Yeah. What do you take?
I take two usually.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, I microdose a decent amount, and then I love these things as well. I know, I always do that. The silicon's right now.
Let's go. Awesome.
But yeah, for first timers, take one. See how you react to that, and especially if you're a first timer to psychedelics.
Yeah.
Take it on a weekend, and
how long for it to like kick in?
15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Usually. Yeah. And again, it's very light. Like it's not like in 15, 20 minutes you're gonna be like, it'll like hit us, but I find you can kind of get into a nice flow. Makes me feel a little bit more joyful.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a bit quicker on my feet in conversations as well.
Okay.
So, kind of nice.
Oh, not bad. I like, I take liquid IV. Have you heard of that one?
I have.
Yeah. So a lot of people, the argument against liquid IV that this is better is that liquid IV has a little bit more sugar. Right, because this is zero sugar, right?
Zero sugar. Yeah.
But I was reading something the other day that there's an argument that when it comes to electrolytes, you need a little bit more sugar for it to pass the stomach more efficiently. Have you heard of that?
That's news to me.
Yeah, and I love liquid IV.
Yeah.
But I think also like almond tea is amazing too.
Yeah.
My favorite, I think, is their sour. They're sour. They're salty watermelon.
Yeah.
That's pretty bomb.
Yeah. No, they're great. I find especially like I sauna a lot, and like these things are just so nice after a sauna or right when you wake up. So.
And you take these first thing in the morning.
Take one of those first thing in the morning with some creatine and some lemon. That's kind of my first.
That's your first thing.
Drink. Yeah.
All right. So let's get into a little bit about you. So tell the guests a little bit about yourself.
A little bit about
Who are you, Liam?
Who am I? My name is Liam. I run a microdosing company called Microdose. Mm-hmm. We essentially provide safe, accessible psychedelic analogs to people, as well as functional mushrooms and CBD. And yeah, I've been running it for about 3 years now. I used to come from a corporate investment finance world, and I just found my passion with this. I love to see it helping people. It's helped me with my own mental health. Came out of depression about 5 years ago now through microdosing, and that's kind of where the passion stems from. And then I just love anything human optimization. So float therapy, hot and cold therapy, acupuncture, massage, peptides, really anything I can do to optimize myself, because I know when I'm most optimized, I'm going to be the best son, brother, friend, and most value to, I would say, the world. So.
Okay. Why did you start a microdosing company?
Yeah,
Because you said you came from the corporate world, right?
yeah.
What do you mind me asking? What you do? What you did?
I worked as an investment manager for a private lending company. So we worked with private mortgages, direct private mortgages, and then I raised money in a MIC, which is a mortgage investment corporation, which is essentially a portfolio of mortgages. So I managed a team, and we'd be in the middle between an investor funding these private mortgages and the borrowers. So I really loved it. I learned a lot of skills, and it just got to a point where I started doing consults for Neurodose, like 15 minutes, where I'm just asking people, what's going on? What are you struggling with? And I started to get a lot more joy out of like a 15-minute conversation of that rather than like closing an investment. So I'm like, I think that's where I'm supposed to go. And it just really helped me come out of depression, as I mentioned before. But that was the main thing. And then what I saw it do for my father, who's got Parkinson's disease, and it allowed him to start walking better. His tremor was reduced. And I used to play a game with my mom where at lunch I'd be like, he microdosed or he didn't microdose. And I've never been wrong. So it really shows me that like something as like, a small little microdose can really change someone's life, even with like a neurologic disease. And then from a mental health condition. And then it's just really cool to see how many different avenues, for instance, if you're into sports, you love working out, your mind-muscle connection improves. So it's just been fascinating to see over the last few years just how many people can benefit from this type of product.
That's not bad. So what were the difficulties in starting a microdosing company?
Definitely like a lot of red tape, let's just say, from psychedelics in general, right? Because actual psilocybin and LSD, it's still Schedule 3 here in Canada. That is going to change, and it's really clear that the regulation walls in North America are being broken down slowly. A little bit, I wish it was a little bit faster, but it's coming. So I'd say that, just like, initially having to go to a lawyer to be like, okay, we're going to use analogs. We're not actually using these psychedelics. Is this okay to use? Okay, if it is, how can we go about, marketing? Because even when you deal with, Instagram, TikTok, all these different social media platforms, they have different ruling when it comes to actual psilocybin, actual LSD. So how do you go about marketing something like this that works very similarly in the body, and the names are very similar, but they're not actually this. So it's just like, it's a lot of hoop jumping. And then I think just starting any business, as just like as your first business, there's just so many things that you have no idea, and you just got to kind of learn on the go.
Yeah, definitely learn along the way. How did your parents because that's quite a little bit of a jump.
Big jump. So my dad was a Western medicine doctor, mom's a nurse, sister's a nurse. So I have like my whole family, brother a paramedic, in like kind of the health realm. I grew up in a Christian household. So speaking about drugs and alcohol was like a no-no. Let's just say. So when I first started talking about psychedelics, it was just like, it kind of brushed off a little bit, like okay, whatever. He's the rebellious one. He's likes to try new things. But once they saw what it did for me, and then I ended up convincing my father after about 6 months. And then, for instance, from my mom's point of view, then she saw what it did for my dad, and she's like, oh, okay, like, this is no joke. Like, this actually works, and this is changing. This changed my son's life, as it me, and my dad. And now, my mom, who's a psychotherapist now, she's working on getting her ketamine license so that she can administer ketamine while giving psychotherapy, which is quite fascinating.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. There's a lot of studies on ketamine and MDMA to help people with like depression. I know, I think somewhere in the States, they prescribe, I guess you could say, MDMA for like war vets and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To help get through depression or PTSD, right? Yeah. Do you know much about that kind of stuff?
100%. And that's actually one of the main reasons why I actually ended up starting a company like this as well, and going, because I got my dad accepted to a ketamine and Parkinson's trial, first one in Canada. It was at St. Mike's, and I picked him up after the third day. You do 3 sessions, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. I picked him up, opened the door, and he sat down, and he was like beaming. Like the happiest I've honestly seen my dad in like 10 years. He was smiling, he was laughing. I'm like, this is insane. Like you could see that level of weight or maybe some depression. Well, definitely some depression associated with Parkinson's. You lose a lot of your abilities to, play sports, socialize, all these different things. And it felt like that weight was just completely lifted away from him. And it felt like, honestly, like I got like a part of my dad back that day. So I was like, oof, like this is
good.
This is good stuff.
Good.
And like, then I was like, how is this not being talked about more?
Yeah.
To see someone with a neurologic disease, his life has changed drastically since doing ketamine, and that was 3 years ago now, and there's still positive effects to this day.
Yeah. So when you say
wow.
positive effects, what do you mean by that?
Better walking, better motor skills, less tremor, depression wiped away, got his joy back in his life, like very, very profound. So it's pretty, for me, like ketamine, psychedelics obviously hold like a special place in my heart because of what it's done for him, what it's done for myself, and then seeing what it's been able to do for a lot of people who are still struggling since COVID. Like I take consults every week, and we're relatively in like a mental health crisis. Like it's not being talked about enough, but like when you're in this line of work and there's like ADHD, anxiety, depression, and then they've been put on SSRIs, they've been put on benzos for like years, which is like super, super sad because they're addicting, tough to get off of, and they're usually not advised, unfortunately, when they start a drug like that, how addicting and how hard it is to come off of. So then they're coming to someone like myself, like try to get off these pharmaceuticals, and then they have to go back to their doctor who doesn't really know anything about psychedelics. Again, love doctors, but many of them don't necessarily have the time to educate themselves on something outside of their practice. Their education is based on how to treat a symptom, not necessarily to get to the root cause. And like I speak to my dad about this as well. He did 10 years at Queen's to get his doctorate, and they had no schooling on nutrition, on sleep, and like to think about how important those two buckets are to someone's life, and they have no knowledge on it unless they go outside of their time, which doctors are incredibly busy. You've got a family, it's not necessarily the doctor's fault. I think it's just like a top-down issue. From an education standpoint.
I definitely agree with that. Doctors are not being either encouraged to, or it's just like they're not really talking about other different forms of medication, if you will, right?
Exactly.
But for your dad, so does he take like a session once a week? For ketamine, is it the same dosage? Or
3 years. He did 3 sessions within back-to-back days, and the effects have lasted 3 years now, and he's going to go back and do another session. I just chatted with him last week, actually, and we're like, something like ketamine, at least what I've read, every like 12 to 18 months, probably a good idea. It's almost like a factory reset in a sense, and I'm a big believer of deep dives as well when it comes to something like that. I do it every 3 to 4 months. Where I'm with a practitioner who's guiding it, very important. You are with someone who's safe and experienced. And it's great. We do acupuncture, massage.
All of it, eh? To relax the body so you accept everything way better, right?
You got it.
Yeah, because even if you're willing to do, from my understanding, even if you're willing to experience that kind of stuff, subconsciously your body can fight it because it's tense, right? Okay. Well, I want to ask too, like, obviously there can be some negative like context towards ketamine or MDMA, right? Like one, if somebody is like wanting to try ketamine and MDMA and stuff like that, what should they look for in a person that's not just trying to take advantage or whatever? Like, how do you find signs of a person to trust when it comes
like
to
a practitioner standpoint? Yeah, I would say that's the toughest thing, I would say right now, because of the regulations around these things, where you have to pay either a ridiculous amount of money to go do ketamine treatment, like it's from like $700 to like $1,200 for a session, or a lot of people can't afford that. MDMA as well, you usually have to actually be accepted to a trial. So you've got to go to the black market for something like that.
Yeah.
And then that's where
Things can get gray.
and
Right.
things can be tough from if you're not someone like myself, or you're ingrained in this world where you have amazing contacts, you have amazing people that, you know, you trust, practitioners and whatnot. It can be very difficult. So if someone wants to do something like that, they can connect with me and I can usually guide them to a practitioner.
Oh, okay. Awesome. So tell us about the lineup that you have in your company right now.
Okay.
So
Like the products?
The products, yeah.
Okay, so this one, as we just mentioned, it's psilocybin, very similar to the psilocybin, lasts 4 to 6 hours, taken in a capsule form, so super convenient, super nice like that. It also comes with some functional mushrooms, so lion's mane, cordyceps, reishi, Siberian ginseng, and bee pollen.
Okay.
And that could sound like gibberish to a lot of people,
Yeah.
but just think of those as like an incredible daily supplement that you can take.
Okay.
And anti-inflammatory, neuroprotective properties, great for your heart health. Lion's mane is great for cognition. And then they work very synergistically with the psychoactive ingredient psilocybin. So it's just like a nice mixture.
It's very synergistically with each other.
You got it. So that is something I take probably 2 times a week. And then we have 1 PLSD. So
That's the one I love.
yeah. That's my favorite thing for like a Monday and a Wednesday. I really enjoy that. Really puts me just dialed in. And that comes in a water solution. And the 1P means that there's one molecule that's bonded onto the LSD structure. That lasts 8 to 12 hours, so a little bit longer. And it's just pure productivity. I've got ADHD. I take that and I don't really have ADHD anymore. It's just like focus, locked in. And I like those days when I'm behind a computer or kind of to myself, because if I'm not, maybe if I'm around a lot of people, I almost get impatient because like I want to be doing something productive. It like turns something in my
It's
mind.
very situational. Like you have to make sure, like you're not going to take it and then everything is just like lighted up properly. You have to make sure you're in the right setting and environment.
Yes, 100%. So that would be more like behind a computer screen, at least for myself. People react differently, but majority of people, they agree with that. And then this one is a bit better for like social scenarios. So I take this product a little bit closer, or like Thursday to Sunday, somewhere in there, because usually I'm doing more things like this, or I'm seeing more people, I'm going out socially. So I like that because it makes me more joyful, a little bit happier. And yeah, it's just like, it's nice to be around people when you're joyful and happy.
Well, that totally makes sense. So those are the 2 products.
Those are 2, and then we also have our Boost, which is just functional mushrooms, and then we have our Elevate product, which is just the psilocybin. So you can, essentially we put these 2 products together to make this one, and then we also have CBD tinctures and CBD capsules.
Okay.
So CBD is just really nice. I feel like a lot of people know what CBD is, but it's really great. I find in the evening just to wind down, it helps me kind of drop into my parasympathetic state, just calm, rest and digest. And then it's really great for inflammation. For instance, my mom takes it. She no longer has arthritis pain because she takes that every night. So it can be a powerful anti-inflammatory.
So that was my next question for the CBD. So you would suggest for people to take it every day?
I do, yes.
Yeah?
I do. It's like, I took decent amount of CBD before something like this. I find it just calms myself. And yeah, anytime, especially if someone's struggling with anxiety, it's really nice to have something in your back pocket that you can take and that you can rely on, that you're going to feel calmer within 15 minutes. And then I really like, especially first timers, to microdosing, to pair them together, because the CBD makes your body feel calm. This can give you energy, so you get like a calming energy, which is a nice feeling than maybe feeling overstimulated. I don't really like that feeling of like too many coffees, nor does really anyone, just the overstimulation. I'd rather have that like calming energy.
Okay, fair enough. How hard is it to find like good sources of all this?
Yeah, pretty tough. That's where I like initially saw a gap in the market, where a lot of the companies, it was more on a recreational side and more towards like hippie vibes, which I'm all for. I think using them recreationally is great as well. Ours are based on day-to-day human optimization, helping, your workflow or, socialization and whatnot. So yeah, it can be difficult.
So when you started the company, like, did you know where to source them? Did you have some trial and errors with some things?
Definitely trial and error for sure. Like, for a compound like this, it's 100 times stronger than psilocybin. So there's 1 milligram of psychoactive product in that capsule, which you can barely see,
Yeah.
So you need very advanced systems and machinery to get that properly in each capsule. And also, when you look online, when I started 3 years ago, there wasn't that much information on the dosing. It was like 1 milligram to 5 is a microdose. So I tried out 5, and I was still at my corporate job, and I was like, this is way too much. So it's a little bit high in, let's say, the office. So then scaled it back to 1, and then that's a really good starting point for a lot of first-time users where you're not high at all, and you're just, it's a small enhancement. It's sub-perceptual, so a very small amount.
Okay. Is there like if I could give you like a magic wand, like what's an ideal product you would like, no FDA, no nothing, ideal project you would like to give to people you think would help them for the non-educated?
Like from a psychedelic standpoint or anything?
Anything. If I could say you can create anything, we'll put it out, you're not going to get any restrictions. What do you think people could really benefit from that you could, like, if you could make?
Yeah.
That, like...
It would be a combination of, like, probably 3 things, actually. So...
Like I guess to, like, hone it in, like a dream product.
Yeah, NAD would be in it.
Yeah.
NAD+. I would have a peptide. I took it today. It's called C-Max. C-Max and C-Lank. It's a nasal spray that you take.
Yeah.
Immediately.
That's a cognitive booster, right?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
So this would just be, like, I'm thinking of a purely a cognition stack. So it'd probably be those 2 in combination, and then I would add in the 1 PLSD to that. And that, like, that's from a cognition standpoint.
That's a serious stack. That's a big daddy stack.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yes.
Okay. So talk to me about dealing with the Canadian government on selling these products.
Yeah. So I think, at the start, again, when I was still in my corporate job, going to lawyers and being like, okay, is this okay? Is this okay? Okay, this analog. And then finally getting to a conclusion like, okay, we can work with this. And at the end of the day, it's difficult because we're just a little bit behind compared to some other places that are maybe a bit more forward thinking. And yeah, it's just difficult because there's so many studies out here that's like very, very clear indicator that these are safe, very, very safe. If you compare something like psilocybin or LSD or ketamine to like alcohol from even an addiction standpoint, and then the harm that it can cause to society, like alcohol is like number 1, like worst thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, a lot of people forget alcohol is like poison. It's poison. Yeah.
And then we sell cigarettes, and when COVID came, we kept the LCB open and kept selling cigarettes because those were a necessity, and we closed the gyms. It's like, okay, like
even like 100%. But don't even get me started on that. Even one of my best friends, smokes cigarettes, and on the case, it's literally like a dying woman.
Yeah.
And also like a tongue that has like blisters. I'm like, this doesn't even faze you.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know. And then he'll still talk to me. He's like, "Oh, like, isn't creatine like not that good for you?"
I know, bad for your liver. I know.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, and he's like, "Isn't creatine bad for you?" I'm like, "Dude, no."
I get the same people who get boozed every weekend 2 to 3 times and are doing cocaine. Those same people are sometimes like, hey, you probably shouldn't be microdosing and like stuff like that. And it's like, it's just so funny to like, it just comes down to not being educated. So I hope to be the person to hopefully educate people further to be like, look, this is safe. Like, there's clear studies on this. It's no longer like, oh, like maybe it is, maybe it's not. It's like, like it is.
Yeah.
And it helps people like with so many different
ways, 100%.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, then what do you think is like the biggest misconception about microdosing?
Yeah, I would say like one of the biggest ones is like, am I going to be seeing things? Am I going to be super high? Am I going to like, can I function on a day-to-day? And it's like, yes. In a microdosing form, the idea is not only to function normally during the day-to-day, but be enhanced with reaction times. My mind-muscle connection improves, and then just being more joyful, happy, like all these things. And it's just like, Yeah, that's probably the biggest misconception of just being like, am I going to go nuts? Am I going to go crazy taking this?
Yeah,
It's like,
see things. And
yeah, no, you're
like,
good.
you can if you want to take a lot.
Exactly. Like if you were to take a lot,
Yeah.
and I think there is a time and a place for that. But from a microdosing standpoint, like, yeah, it's pretty amazing. Like I feel poorly for people that are so against something like this or so closed-minded that they won't even like begin to try to understand or look at the data for something like microdosing. Like
what do you think they're so like again? Is it just because like crazy shit happened in the 70s?
I think there's a few different reasons. One being what the government did in the 60s, putting out commercials, take LSD, jump out the window, like shit like that. It's like,
this is your brain on drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm trying to think what the other reasons are being.
Some misconception. Like what do you like? Why do you think they're so against this?
Oh, so against it. Sorry. Yeah.
That's okay.
I think a lot of people are just really stuck in their ways. Some people don't also want to uncover maybe something that they have been pushing down their whole lives. Like a lot of people's brains, like you look around, like a lot of people are very like, let's say like rigid or like just like, I would say just closed-minded.
Yeah. And
they don't want to necessarily take something to maybe shift their perspective a little bit. Like, oh fuck, maybe I've been doing something. This is not okay. Maybe to shift their perspective. I think people are just genuinely scared of that, of unraveling something inside.
I have a member here who her daughter battles like serious depression to a point where like she doesn't stay with them anymore.
No, that's sad.
So I've talked to her, obviously like they've talked about medication and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was just having a conversation with her about like, microdosing. And she's like, I've researched it, I'm for it, but like, she trusts the doctors, right? And the doctors are like, you don't want to go down that, right? So it's sad because like, I'm sure you've seen so many positive outcomes from switching off from that to like microdosing. I
get messages almost every day. Like I feel very fortunate to be in the place that I am to see all these success stories. A lot of people don't get to see those, right? So yeah, it's difficult because then I'm going against doctors, and especially if I would just say, you're an older person, you're usually more stuck in your ways, or you trust those certain powers even more than you necessarily should. So it's kind of a battle. It's a battle.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough from a consumer standpoint.
Yeah, no, that's true. Who do you think microdosing is for?
Yeah, I think for the best bang for your buck is especially if you're struggling with a mental health condition like depression or anxiety or ADHD. I've seen that firsthand in my life. And then, fortunately, it's not just for something like that or neurologic disease. Like, that's absolutely incredible. But then, it ranges all the way to people who just want to optimize their lives. They want to feel better. They want to feel good every day. And they want to improve. I had people get their personal bests at High Rocks, a couple weekends ago, and an Ironman the other day, marathon. And then you've got athletes taking this as well to improve motor skills and reaction time. So it's like, it's very vast is kind of the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I like, obviously, like, I'm friends with you, but I just feel like it's beneficial to everybody.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Genuinely.
even if you, in my personal opinion, even if you don't have depression or any issues, like, if you want to get more out of that book you're reading, or if you're studying, or if you want to go for a walk with a loved one, like, we're going to go for a long walk and just have a really great conversation.
Yes.
Or I know a lot of people. It
makes you very present.
Very present. And I know a lot of people, too, like, they started, like, maybe take one instead of, like, going out for drinks. Like they still go out, not be like antisocial.
Yes.
But I feel like if you want to, like, I'm not going to drink as much on the weekend or whatever, but I'll take this, but I don't want to be antisocial. Like, I feel like that balances out so much more, right?
Yeah, it like really, like, I found probably my alcohol intake maybe down like 95 to 98% in probably 4 years of microdosing. And I find it because when you go out and you feel good, like genuinely you feel good, you don't need to reach for that third, fourth, fifth drink. I think in my own life, when I was, in depression, that's when I'm reaching fourth, fifth, sixth, because I want to feel good. But when you already go into a night out feeling good, confident, happy, like, you just don't really have that urge. At least that's what I've found.
No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
What does your microdosing protocol look like?
Yeah, so I use the 1 PLSD on Monday and Wednesdays. So usually Monday is like, okay, I try my best to take Sunday afternoon and evening off. And then Monday's like, okay, let's lock in 8 to 12 hours. So 1 PLSD in the morning, right when I wake up.
How much do you take?
I take 12 mLs.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's my sweet spot. Everyone's different, so it can take a little bit of trial and error. And when I say sweet spot, I mean where you feel it just enough, but you don't feel overstimulated. And it's like, okay, this is in me, this is working, I'm dialed in. So that's Monday, Wednesday, and then I take the Boost Plus, the psilocybin, usually Thursday, Saturday, but again, sometimes it can be Friday, Saturday, Friday, Sunday. I pick 2 days out of there, so 4 days a week. There's many protocols out there. Our protocols, or our products, are based on the Fadiman protocol. He wrote this book on microdosing, and I believe that's a really good starting point, which is once every third day. But after someone does that for like a month, I always suggest try out a new protocol. You know, each person's lifestyle is different, so I've found like basically every other day almost to be like pretty ideal. And then I would just say the important part is to make sure to take 2 days at least off during a 7-day period so that your body doesn't grow accustomed to it and you're not getting diminishing returns when taking it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, so I want to ask, do you think that taking too much of this, some people could use it as a form of escapism from life,
Yeah, good
taken advantage of? And if you are, in your opinion, how do you know if you are maybe using it too much as an escapism?
Yeah, that's a great question. Fortunately, psychedelics don't have that addiction tendencies like other compounds, and it can actually really help with other addictions. And I know that's not necessarily answering your specific question, but I think that's important to note. And the thing about a microdose, like if you're taking like a tab of LSD like 5 days a week, like yeah, you're trying to escape reality, but in a microdose form, like it's not like you're escaping reality, you're not getting high. So like if for instance I saw someone taking, instead of like 1 or 2, they start ramping up and they're taking, 10 of these things a few days a week.
And like, I feel great, Liam,
I feel
let's
great.
go.
And I'm like, okay, well, I think you're probably
Taking a little too much.
Let's scale that back. So, I always say, just like everything is like the dose is the poison, and you can use anything too much.
Yeah.
For instance, I think it's even important from a supplementation standpoint. Like, I love my supplements, but I'm kind of in the camp now. You can take a day off during the week of your supplements.
Like a washout day.
Just to reset. Yeah. Even caffeine. I have caffeine twice a week now.
Yeah.
And now when I use the caffeine, it's like powerful stuff, right? So I think it's just looking at how often are you using them, and do you feel like you need it in order to feel good, right?
The needing it to feel good is probably a big
100%. It's like the idea is you get yourself to a point, you feel good most days from other practices, and what microdosing did for me is it acted as a bridge, because it showed me how good I can feel. I'm like, I really like this. I want to feel like this every single day, whether or not I take this or not. So then I started implementing different protocols and modalities such as breathwork, meditation. I do that every single day now. And that really helps me just feel good most days. And then other practices as well, like yoga. I find when you take a microdose, you get into your body easier, you have an enhanced experience. So it shows someone how good you can feel. And then it's important to implement those practices to get there naturally.
So it's almost like a bridge.
Yeah, that's how I find psychedelics. Like, I truly, it can be a bridge for someone to start practicing the right modalities and doing the right things.
That makes sense. Yeah. So talk to me about, you're always trying to better yourself. We talk to each other about podcasts and stuff like that. So what podcasts are you listening to? What books are you reading? What sources of betterment are you looking into?
Yes, definitely. So Huberman, depending on I don't listen to every Huberman podcast. They're long. I don't have that much
like
time.
5 hours sometimes.
But when it comes out, like anything peptides, I'm in. I'm listening to that fully. Like, just finished one. I'm going all in on peptides.
Yeah.
They're incredible.
Yeah.
And so Huberman for things like that, and then psychedelics as well. Anything related to psychedelics. I love Chris Williamson. He's just like
He's killing it right now.
I just like I just like he makes the conversations a little bit more interesting, let's just say, than Huberman.
I definitely
And then I really like Steve Bartlett, Diary of a CEO. Brings on he's got some awesome guests, and he gets more into like the personal level with some people. Like he had Huberman on, for instance, and Huberman, he's more science, but when he was on Steve Bartlett's podcast, he got him to like talk about, its actual life stuff, which is, I think,
it's a nice little change.
Yeah.
Right?
Nice to hear.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Are you reading anything right now? Have you read something?
Yes, I'm reading, it's a TED Talk. It's supposed to, the person who created TED Talk, I'm blanking on his name, but he created this book.
Oh my gosh, it's like, I think I've it's a red book?
Yeah, White and Red.
Oh, White and Red. Ted.
It's like Ted something.
Yeah.
So I'm reading that.
It's on my list.
I've got a talk on November 3rd, which is like, I would say the biggest public speaking gig I've had. So I'm just like trying to learn how do I properly communicate my story, psychedelics, in a framework that's very digestible from a consumer. And it's really fascinating. Like in this book, when they did this science experiment where they hooked people's brains and their neurons up to these different devices to measure them, and when someone's sharing a story, their brain waves start mirroring each other. So it means like you're actually like connecting to each other when someone shares a story, rather than if I were to just give you like a PowerPoint straight up, like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it shows that us humans connect best to each other through storytelling. And then I heard one of my good friends, Corey Fifth, speak to his story, I think like a couple months ago. And at this whole day conference, that was what I took away. Like I listened to 6 hours of things, and that's what I remembered is his story. So it showed me that you can, if you learn how to storytell properly, you can get your point across, educate people in a better, more digestible way and more memorable. So that's what I'm trying to learn right now.
Okay. I think that's on my list. I have like a big list of books.
Yeah.
Trying to get through.
It's good. It's good. I really like it.
Okay. We both wear our Whoops.
Yes.
So how has Whoop changed your life? Your fitness?
So many.
Your health? Talk to me about it.
Yeah. I think I'm the biggest Whoop advocate ever. They got to start sending me some money, I think. But I think I've gotten
sponsoring Whoop.
35 people on it now, so pretty good. It just encourages, like at the basis of it, encourages good behaviors, discourages bad behaviors. We all know drinking is not good for you. You don't know how bad until you wear one of these. Like, I only had 3-4 drinks, like no biggie, right? Like, like your Whoop will absolutely tell you.
That's funny you say that because like I find if it's like Friday night, Saturday night, I have like 3 glasses of bourbon or tequila. Like I'm fine. I wake up in the green. My resting heart rate is not too high. But I find if I have that 4th, or whatever,
everyone's got that.
So I'm like, okay, maybe it's 2 or 3 if I want to enjoy a drink. 100%. Right? And so I'm like, okay, well, we're just gonna scale it back.
Exactly. So. And everyone's different, right? So being able to actually see what is my limit, how can, my body detoxify itself and be okay, right? Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3, maybe, I don't know, up to whatever. I have some friends who, one buddy Kyle, he could drink, a 2-4 and they somehow get a green recovery and his body just miraculously...
He's a different breed.
He's a different breed,
He's a different breed, which just happens.
Yeah.
Sure.
And this just shows you, what kind of supplements, what kind of compounds maybe that your body is better made for, because each person's DNA and their biology is so different, where something, for instance, Huberman, Rogan, they're like sauna right before bed. It's, it's great because it cools your internal temperature. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I've tried that 15 times. Every single time, bad recovery, bad sleep.
Oh, really?
So it doesn't work for me. So not having a wearable, you would take Huberman's or Rogan's advice like it's concrete, right? But each person's different, where it doesn't work for me. Like I can't have a sauna within like 3 hours bedtime, else it like affects my recovery. I have to have it before. So just like little things like that, I think is incredibly beneficial. And then it can also it can tell you when you're sick before you know you're sick.
100%.
It happened last week.
100%.
I got a 40% recovery, and I'm like, I did all the healthy things. I did no bad things. Usually, like if I usually know how to get like a green recovery, and I did all the things. I'm like, that's weird. I feel good still, but I listened to it and I skipped my workout that day, did recovery stuff. Sure enough, next day, another like low yellow. And then I started getting a sore throat. So it caught things like 24 to 30 hours before. If I didn't have this, I felt good. I would have pushed my body that day and I would have gotten sick for a longer period of time. But because I caught it then, listened to it, I didn't fully get sick. And after that second day of being rested, I was good the third day. So like that alone, the value is huge.
So do you only push hard on green days?
Yeah.
And yellow?
It's my mindset switches where it doesn't mean I'm going to have a bad day. It doesn't mean I'm feeling poorly. It's just showing me that my body, physically or mentally, needs to recharge. So instead of maybe doing that workout, I do yin yoga. Instead of, doing that run, I go for a walk. Just a little adjustments. And then I do my best. Next day, green, all right, go time. And that's kind of how I manage training for the most part, actually.
Yeah, and you find it's really benefited you?
Very helpful. Yeah, I find from an injury standpoint as well, prevention standpoint.
Okay. Yeah. So are there certain little things that you pay attention to exactly on Whoop? Like I love to pay attention, obviously my health markers, like my skin temperature and all that stuff. But I always try to look at the sleep and then like how many in REM.
Yes.
I don't know. Is there certain things that you really look for?
Yeah, I'll look at. I would say the main thing. How's my HRV that day? And that's highly related to the recovery.
People. I feel like HRV is really starting to pick up.
Yeah.
Explain to people like what is HRV? Yeah. What's a good HRV to have?
So HRV is heart rate variability. It essentially is the measure between your autonomic nervous system, your parasympathetic, rest and digest, and your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight. So if you see a lion, sympathetic, something like that from an evolutionary standpoint. And then when you're sleeping or you're in a float tank or whatever, you're resting, you're in your parasympathetic. If these two systems are working very synergistically together, that's amazing. That means you're going to have a high HRV. And why is that amazing? Well, if something stressful in life comes up, do you want to be stressed for 3 seconds or 3 days? Some people, if you have a very low HRV, something stressful can really affect someone for a full day. That someone, if you have a very high HRV, maybe only like a couple minutes. So just from like a standpoint of, that's just a better life to be able to put things away quicker. And then also from a recovery standpoint, higher HRV shows your body's ability to be able to recover quicker. And then from a numbers perspective, that's why it's pretty tough because I don't really like labeling a number because you start from like when you come out of the womb, like I'm gonna put a Whoop on my baby one day. Like I'm so curious.
No,
like, what's their
I'm
HRV?
so ready too. I'm
like
not gonna lie.
put it on. See what,
Yeah.
because a lot of it can be based from your genetics. So someone can be doing all the right things, and maybe they have a lower HRV. And the important part is to not necessarily compare yourself to other HRVs. Look at yours and improve your own HRV. Like that's the best thing you can do. I'm a competitive person, so I look around and I'm like, I want to have the highest HRV.
Well, because it's not necessarily bad if it's low.
Yes.
And it's not necessarily good if it's super high, right?
Yeah.
Like it depends on the person. Because I think I posted it one time and you commented on it. I think my HRV one time it was like 95%, 96% recovered, but my HRV was like 174, 175.
Yeah, that's.
And I remember you messaged me and you're like, "What the fuck? What are you doing?"
Yeah. That's a very high HRV.
I have a lot of stress in my life.
Yeah. So maybe when you give your body the chance to rest, it.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. But I know people who have a Whoop, like my dad has a Whoop, and his high green, like 95, 96, can be like 101 or 102, like right. So everybody's so different with that kind of stuff, right?
100%.
Yes,
absolutely. So it's cool because right when I got my Whoop, I had like I think a 60 average, for instance, which isn't like isn't low, kind of like average-ish, and now it's like at around an 80. So 33% increase, which is great, and I want to get to triple digits. And that's my goal over the next like 90 days, actually, to have a 90 average, and then I want to get up to 100. about 6 months away. So
100?
yeah,
Can you do,
I want to have an
is
average.
that possible?
Yeah. No. So I think you're thinking about the recovery.
Yeah.
I just mean the HRV average. My HRV average.
Okay, I'm like 100% recovery.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think just 99. I don't think you can get 100 on the recovery.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, I've never have. But
No. I definitely haven't.
Yeah.
So would I explain people who Whoop? Because they have like an Apple Watch or whatever, right? And they're like, well, doesn't that do the same with the Apple Watch with monitoring sleep and stuff like that?
Yeah.
What do you have to say to that?
There are similarities. It's not as in depth, and I forgot to mention, this is probably the most valuable part of a Whoop is the diary function, and then the month end report that it gives you.
And then the year end.
And then the year end. Because what is that doing? So the journal, for instance, I wake up, did you take magnesium last night? Okay, how much? Did you get, sunlight upon rising? Did you have caffeine? All these different things, all these supplements, all these modalities. And then at the end of the week and the end of the month, it's showing you the correlation between these habits, these supplementations to your sleep and your recovery. So that's incredibly valuable data. And then I believe that we're getting very close to uploading this data. Like when you go see a doctor in 5 years time, we're going to be using this. It could be even less than 5 years.
You could. They tell you to bring it to your doctor actually.
100%. And I was just listening to a podcast on Rogan and blanking on the guy's name, but he runs Ways Too Well. And
Yeah.
And their company, this is exactly what they do. They use people's wearable, they put it into an AI model, and then this AI model will eventually be able to tell you how much of magnesium you should take, just you based on your DNA makeup and your biology, when you should take it, when's the best time for you to work out, when's the best time for you to go to sleep. And it's going to be able to tell you all these metrics, and the more data you have, the more accurate that model is going to be able to give you that information. So I'm just that's very, very valuable.
I think so too. The way I explain it too is I feel like the Apple Watch does a lot of things so well.
Yeah, for sure.
But this does 1 to 2 things almost perfectly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fact that they don't even have a face means that there's more technology that they can put into the algorithm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to get used to in the beginning because you're like, well, I don't know what time it is. Right?
Yeah.
And then I realized, okay, well, what's more valuable? My health and all that stuff. Okay, so peptides.
Peptides, yes.
I only know BPC 157 because I tore my hamstring.
Yeah. That's a great one.
Right. So for a person that doesn't really know peptides, what are they?
Yeah.
Are they SARMs, steroids? Explain.
No. So fortunately not. So a peptide essentially just means a string of amino acids.
Yeah.
If the string is from 0 to 40 amino acids, it's a peptide. If it's 41 and above, I think it's 41 or 42, but one of those two, it means it's a protein.
Okay.
So it just means how many strings of amino acids, essentially. And something that's very well known, first peptide we generated as humans in 1940 is insulin. And think about how valuable insulin's obviously been to the human race. And then we as humans, we actually have 7,000 peptides that are naturally produced in our body.
Oh.
Which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know that. And what peptides do, if we compare it to something like testosterone, for instance, you inject testosterone, it's actually going to, and testosterone isn't a peptide, it's going to make your natural testosterone production decline. But peptides goes inside of you and makes your natural production go upwards. So it's not like you're shutting down your natural processes. Again, if you have super low tests and you've tried everything, doing testosterone, I think it's actually a good thing to do. But I'm just trying to compare what they do in the body.
Yeah.
And there's peptides that range from BPC 157 that heals tendons, you tear an ACL.
It's one of the few peptides too that's bioavailable. Bioavailable, right?
So you can take it. I take it for my stomach. It really helped cure my stomach.
I did find my hamstring healed up so well and so quick, but it did feel also like my gut was healing really well.
So the study they just came out with is actually injecting the BPC 157 as well is going to help your gut, and actually more so they found than actually ingesting it, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, if you're ingesting it, it goes in your gut. So anyways, you can definitely take that one bilingually, and it works great. And then there's cognition peptides, C-Max, C-Lank, Atomax. Those are my favorite. Those are nasal sprays. Take it in the morning, and they work. They really work, man.
Yeah.
Like, I woke up today, didn't have I think I just had too much sauna yesterday, honestly.
Fair enough. It drained you, yeah.
Yeah, had a low recovery, 41, and when I have a low recovery, I find like I have a little bit more brain fog as well. It's pretty clear.
It makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. But took this immediately, just boom. I feel like clear-minded, and I feel good. So they really work, and they work for focus. And then you have peptides like ipamorelin, tesamorelin, CJC 1295, GHRPs. These would just be a subgroup of peptides that are good for muscle building, reduce fat, and help with your sleep as well. So those are great. And then you have specific ones just for sleep. So DSIB is one to improve your deep sleep. You have this one I just learned about on Huberman's podcast. It's called Pinealin. And he's saying it improved his REM sleep 2 times.
Two times?
An hour and a half to 3 hours. And he, on his podcast, was like, I've never taken a supplement or done anything in my life that I saw such a big return for the first time I took it.
Right away.
So I just ordered that. I haven't tried it yet. I'm super excited.
What is that one called again?
Pinealin.
Pinealin.
Yeah.
So where do you order these from?
Yeah, so I order them from, it's called Limitless Nootropics. It's from the States, but
I've heard of that site.
all the big wigs out there in the biohacking community, the Ben Greenfields, the Jay Campbell, that's who they promote, and they're third-party tested. So that's where I definitely trust that source, and I've had conversations with the CEO and the founder there, and great dude, and yeah, that's a great spot to find it, because there's other peptide sites out there. It's just difficult to know quality
100%.
when it comes to something like peptides.
100%.
If you just get it in a little vial, they're not third-party tested. You can fucking put anything in there.
I think, with peptides and stuff like that, like, I think you pay the extra to make sure it's sourced right.
100%.
Are there any peptides that people should, like, that there's not enough data yet, that they should be wary of?
Yeah, I'm a risk taker. Let's just say so.
Well, let me do it first.
Yeah, like, I enjoy doing these things, and from what I have read, what I've seen, peptides are extremely safe. Why? Well, we have naturally producing peptides in our body. We're just adding a little bit, and yeah, I haven't seen any really negative side effects, honestly, and I've been taking them on and off for 5 years now. Peptides. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, wanted to talk to you about DMT.
Yes.
So you have done DMT.
Yes, I have multiple times. It's a life changer.
Yeah. So explain DMT.
Yeah, dimethyltryptamine is what it means. There's a couple different kinds. There's NN-DMT, and then there's 5-MeO-DMT. The difference is 5-MeO-DMT, when you do like a large dose, there's just like this white light. You leave your body. Like, it sounds crazy, but you fully leave your body, your soul, and it feels like, it's called the God molecule for a reason. You feel very connected to God. You feel like connectedness, love. Like, it's really hard to put into words, because when you do it and then you come down, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, it's pretty. It's wild. Yeah. And then NN-DMT is you absolutely can leave your body as well, and that's more, I would say, a bit more playful, but more colorful and whatnot. And DMT, after doing my first DMT experience, that's actually when I decided to leave my corporate life. I did it, and I went into another realm, and I had heard a clear voice tell me, follow your heart, I'll take care of the rest. Like, all right, so I think God's talking to me. Just do what I love and follow my heart. So I quit my corporate job that next week after doing it.
Oh, wow.
And that can sound pretty profound to people. I'm going to do DMT. I'm going to change my life. But since I did that, it gave me the courage to take that leap of faith. And my whole life has completely changed in the best way possible since actually taking that step. I have a big love for DMT.
DMT?
Yes.
Do you take it once a year? Do you take it like every time you need a reflection on things?
Yeah, I use it for a few different things. I would say most of the times when I've had a tough decision in my life, like that was like, do I leave corporate? Do I not? Or maybe it's to do with a business relationship. Maybe it's to do with the romantic relationship. Some like difficult decisions. I feel like I do deep dives with DMT, and it usually kind of tells me.
Well, it's
kind of tells me what to do.
Yeah, so it tells you, like, I've done it also.
Yeah.
I don't want to hide like I haven't done it. But it basically, I feel like it's the truest conversation with yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that could be like pretty scary.
Of course,
right?
people don't really like to face. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We're all trying to just avoid shit,
Yeah.
right? So like I feel like it's the truest conversation with yourself and stuff like that. Do you think that that can get a little bit addictive?
I don't think so. And the reason I say that, when I do my deep dives, like there's no part of me that wants to go do that the next day or the next week. No. Like,
I guess you get so much information,
I have the best, right? Those are like some of the best days of my life, hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down. Like if I look back, 10 best days of my life, there's psychedelics are probably involved with most of them.
Yeah.
And you just, like going into that realm, leaving your body, like it's serious stuff, right? Like, so you want to really honor that and, and
that's
not.
fair.
So at least for myself, there's no part of me that's like, I want to go do that tomorrow. So I do it around like every 3 months. I do like a deep dive with psychedelics.
Yeah, like a factory reset, like you said.
Doing it next Wednesday. I'm really excited.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, wanted to talk to you about, you're doing right now a 90-day human optimization blueprint.
Yes.
How'd that come to be? And what exactly have you learned so far?
Yeah, a few reasons. I think in the summer, I had more fun. I was out and about, had my birthday, like I had a few weeks. It's just like celebrations, fun times, out with friends, later nights, more alcohol, like, and then I did blood work and I saw that my testosterone was low and I'm like, fuck, okay, all right, let's lock in here. Let's do, and I've always told myself, like, I haven't really given my body, a 3-month period. I've done months, like completely sober and whatnot, but I haven't done like 90 days. And really implemented everything I've learned over the last 5 years of human optimization. And I just thought, like, what a better way to do it. And also I'm starting to try and like produce a bit more content. Why don't I do this? And I'm just going to post about things that have been really helpful to me and the protocols that I'm doing. And hopefully they can help others. And then also the goal is to improve my testosterone, my HRV, my deadlift, and my VO2 max by 25% in 90 days, which is, it's pretty ambitious.
Yeah, but you aim high.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty ambitious, but I'm on pace, at least from an HRV standpoint and deadlift. I'm not going to be testing VO2 until the end, obviously. But once I do that, I'll share all the numbers with everyone. And the goal is to hit those, feel the best I've ever felt physically and mentally, and then also be able to highlight people that have been really helpful to me in my health journey. Whether or not it's my masseuse, whether or not it's, physio, it's my coach, it's my psychotherapist, all these different people where they're just, they're incredible at what they do. And I want to highlight them so that other people can hopefully see that and, go to these people. So hopefully creates business for these other people that have been very important to me.
How are you tracking all this? Like, is it a spreadsheet?
Yeah, so through like Whoop,
I know Whoop, obviously.
Definitely Whoop is the majority. And then from like a VO2 max, I just have gone to push pounds, tracked it there. So you get a report, and then I'm going to do that at the end of 3 months. And then deadlifting, I've got just like a little app, strong app, where I put in like my reps, weights and whatnot. And then what's the other one? HRV. And then testosterone. So that's through blood analysis. So Marie Gold, she's lovely. She has helped me a lot from, IV therapy standpoint through getting blood recs. And she also, she offers that up to other people as well. So it's as easy as chatting with her briefly. You get your blood rec from her. You go to any Dynacare, anything like that. And then you get your results in like 48 hours. And you're checking your vitamin levels, your lipid levels, all your hormones, your testosterone. And that's just like super valuable information because if someone is feeling off, like they're not feeling good, whether or not that's mental health, maybe someone's got anxiety, it could be as simple as filling a vitamin deficiency. So I always tell people, like, if you want to start feeling better or start really focusing on your health, go get your blood work done. Just make sure all those boxes are ticked. And then from there, I would suggest doing a DNA mind test, which essentially you're breaking down your DNA and your DNA makeup. And then based on that, you can also see, like what I learned from mine is I am the worst caffeine metabolizer like in the world, like 99 percentile. So it takes me like 14 hours to metabolize my caffeine.
Yeah.
So I kind of knew that, but once seeing that, as well as like, it tells you, like for alcohol for me is like really bad. I metabolize alcohol really bad. But for something like marijuana, it's like, I actually metabolize marijuana really well. I get a big dopamine release. So it's just very interesting to see like what kind of, things your DNA makeup is actually, beneficial for or that can hurt it. And then I'm trying to think what else. And then, based on all this, a peptide protocol, microdosing protocol, all my supplementation, and then hopefully breaking it down into digestible ways so that people can do it themselves, and it's not actually that complex once you've broken it down for someone. So that's what I hope to do.
Okay. Talk to me about your depression.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah, so I've struggled with depression, I would say, starting university. I think just partying too much, didn't really like school, and had bits of depression in there. And then 5 years ago, I just went through a string of life events that just, they sucked. I lost a best friend to an overdose 3 days before coming home from a 6-month trip in Bali. I lost my dog 2 months later through the ice unexpectedly. Was going through a breakup at the time with a girl I was living with. And then my father's Parkinson's was at a point of toxicity where the pharmaceuticals that he was taking, I guess he was just prescribed too much, and he just like turned into someone that like I didn't even know. It was like quite scary. I came home one weekend and he was convinced my mom and sister were poisoning him. So I was like, I'm gonna lose my dad here to like a psych ward. All those other things were going on, and I didn't have the tools back then like I do now to be able to emotionally regulate. So it just put me in a state of like, fuck, this sucks. Like I didn't want to get out of bed, it was definitely a difficult time in my life. And then I came across an article on Reddit that said LSD for depression. And I was like, fuck, all right, let's give that a go. I don't have much to lose right now. And that was really the start of, I would say, my human optimization or my, I don't know, the healing journey, but kind of, that really started because I started feeling better, started taking care of myself again, was able to emotionally regulate again. So that's why I have big love for microdosing.
Yeah, because it's helped you so much.
Yeah.
Do you ever look back and reflect on like how much positive changes you've done through that?
Yeah.
Or you just kind of like you feel a lot better. You have better protocols.
Yeah.
You just leave it in the past. What do you?
I think I can be better at. I would say I'm pretty hard on myself. Like even still, like I think I do a lot of the right things, but I can fixate on even like a little thing I did wrong. You know what I mean? Like I had a sip of beer yesterday. I had a bad recovery. I'm like, fuck, maybe it was that. Stuff like that. So, I definitely, and then there's points when I do year reviews. When I turn, I just turned 30 or the year changes. That's when I do like a review and I'm like, oh, okay, like we've done some good shit here. Like, so, we've improved in these categories, and I'm definitely, I'm proud of who I became, and I'm just like a very different person than even like 3 years ago. So I'm happy with the growth.
Yeah. Well, I only know you as now, so I know you as like a sweet, smart, like a really sweet guy. So how do you deal with like self-doubt?
I truly just go back to we're all gonna die.
Okay.
And
that's the end of the podcast.
Honestly, like at the end of the day, like when for instance, I'm nervous for this talk. 150 people, high performers, entrepreneurs, November 3rd. I'm like, should I be up there? Should I be up there with some of these guys that are speaking? Like some of these guys are, made massive exits in their businesses. And then I'm like, you know what? Yeah, first of all, I have value that I can bring to others. So I should be. And then, everyone's going to die, and in 500 years, no one's going to give a shit if you mispronounce a word, or you looked nervous, or like all these things. And I just like actually remind myself of that, and I feel like it helps with self-doubt for me. Yeah, which can sound dark, but
no, I mean, I think the same thing when it comes to like I try to practice as much gratitude as possible. Like my morning journal is I just finished the 366 days of daily stoic.
Amazing.
But the other journal I have is in the morning I write whatever I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
And then obviously, right? And then the second thing is where I'm winning.
Love that.
That's the hardest one to fill out, to be honest with you. Because I'm like, I'm a piece of shit.
I'll turn that back on you as well. Like, what do you do for self-doubt?
Well, that's why I try to do this journal. But I do, so the journal helps a lot with self-doubt.
Okay.
So I do the grateful, where am I winning, what I should let go, and then what an ideal day looks like for me. And I do that every single morning.
Okay.
But for self-doubt, I just, honestly, I kind of try to put it away sometimes, which is like not the healthiest. But I try to also look like what I do, like it consumes me. Ryan Holiday. He said something where I don't need to have confidence if I have evidence.
I like
right?
That. Yeah.
So
confidence is built from evidence. So I like
right. So I just try to keep that in mind. It's like, I'm really tired in this workout, let's say, and I'm feeling like a little bit of a bitch. It's like, well, I've had the workout where it's way harder. So I know I can deal with this. Or I try to just like, I'm very much a person where like, extrinsically, like I look to the people around me for motivation. So in the sense of like, okay, like I need to make sure that I'm good, I'm strong for these people. Sometimes that though that can be a little bit like, because it has to start with you, obviously. That's the most logical answer. Everybody knows that answer. But I feel like that's one of the hardest things to actually be honest and truthful with yourself with.
100%.
Right? So that's what I try to do. And then the darkest thing that I think about is when it comes to gratitude is I think of losing things. So like if I'm really, really, this is super, but whatever. If I'm really, really tired in the morning, I have awful sleep. I think about like losing the business tomorrow, and or if I'm tired in a workout or just not feeling it, I think I've somebody who came on the podcast and he's in a wheelchair.
You might not be able to.
Right.
Next day.
If I am coming home really, really late at night, and I honestly don't want to spend time with my daughter because I'm tired, right? I think about like her being older and talking about how her dad didn't want to spend time with her, right?
Yeah, those are the
and
biggest
that kind of shit really crushes me, right? So I think about losing things to make sure that I keep them. So like that's my dark story.
No, everyone's got their own. I think it's important for sure. And there's an aspect of gratitude then that comes from that, right?
Gratitude is so important, and people talk about gratitude, but I don't think people really understand like, and also I think people, it's kind of like, oh, like be gratitude, the earth is shining, you know what I mean? But like it can be simple things like gratitude today. I get to do a podcast. I get to hang out with my friends. You know what I mean? I get to create cool content. I get to train beautiful people. My daughter and my wife are healthy. These are very simple things that I like. If things change like that, I would be like, oh my God, I wish I had it back. Right? And I'm not saying like it's like that every day. It's not. But it's...
You can start every day like that from a journal practice. And I really love that. I really think that's important. And I found my favorite people that I like to be around, they're just fucking grateful people. They're grateful to fucking bite into that nice apple too. My buddy Jordan Kalish, I was just yesterday, and he just enjoys little things in life, and it's just like, those are the people that I want to be around, and it's just like, it's just happy people, and the more gratitude that you can, I guess, bring into your life, I believe that's a happier life. Like, those are the biggest correlations to happiness I've found. It's the more gracious I can be.
Yeah, because everything can be taken away.
Yes.
Everything can be taken away. So you mentioned it a bit, but you turned 30. All right. What kind of reflections came to mind? 30, I always find is when I turned 30. That was a day that I really let go a lot of pain from my dad. So that was my reflection at 30.
Yeah.
What kind of reflections did you have?
It's cool. How'd you say that? I had a lot of, I would say a lot of anger in, probably from since I was like 17 till maybe probably like 29, honestly, of the Parkinson's aspect. Just kind of angry, like, why the fuck does this happen to my dad? You know, he takes care of himself. He's like the healthiest guy I know. Like, why would that happen? So I had a certain like level of anger towards, I think, God, about something like that. But I've been able to change my reframe around it, where for the first time in my life, I can see positivity from it, where I wouldn't be in the place I am today. I wouldn't be able to, I don't think I would have created Microdose. I don't think I would have this story that I believe can help people and inspire people. And he wouldn't be able to, you know, help and inspire other people with Parkinson's, right? So I've been able to finally reframe stuff like that, as well as like dark things like, you know, my friend passing away and just all these things. I've been able to actually finally spin them around and see positivity in it. I think actually psychedelics are helpful for something like that as well, seeing some positives in even some things that seem pretty dark. And then I was saying this the other day where I went into the corporate world, I think I was like maybe 6-7 years ago when I started, and I used to optimize for money, number one, what I was doing, number two, who I was around, number three. And then now that I'm 30 and I feel like I'm a lot happier, more content, dude, I've completely flipped those. Number one is actually who I'm around. So when I look at my week, I care about who I'm around, number one, and what I'm doing actually comes second. And number three, it comes from like, okay, is this towards earning me money and whatnot? And I think, at least for myself, I had it backwards a lot of my life, too focused on the money. And I really realized, fortunately at a decently young age, that money doesn't actually make you happy. I was making the most money I've ever had 4 years ago, and I was probably the least happy I've ever been. So to see that correlation, and then just to double down on who you're around is the most important thing to me now.
Yeah, it's really, my friend circle has definitely been smaller, but like, what's that saying? Rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So what keeps you motivated then?
Yeah.
Is it your friends? What keeps you motivated in this? Because like, owning a business is fun, but it's so draining. And I think people is like, I know we chose this path, but like, what keeps you motivated to keep going? What keeps you motivated to help people? What keeps you motivated to do the right thing?
Yeah, I think it just comes from where I was at a point in my life and the certain struggles, and then knowing how many people are there right now. And then now I have these tools and this knowledge to be able to help people like that. So it's like, you know, the more I'm producing content, the more consults I'm able to take, the more I can help people come out of that space. So I think like deep down, that's probably where, like even on those days where, you know, you're tired, like that's where it stems from. And then also the Parkinson's aspect for sure is like, you know, there's families out there, people that are struggling with neurologic diseases where like, if they just knew about this, like this could change their life, right? So I think it stems from there, and then also surrounding yourself with the right people, you know, and they're just incredibly motivating. Like, you know, I think about just my best buddy, Freddie, just being around this guy is just like, I'm energized every time I'm around him because he's motivating. He sees the world very similarly, and yeah, I just think it's just so important to be around the right people. And people can drain you, or you can have people that build you up and push you to become a better person. So,
yeah, I agree. Okay, so at the end of the podcast, we always ask 2 questions. Okay, so what does alpha mean to you? And describe yourself in 1 word.
What does alpha mean to me? I think at the end of the day, just doing what needs to be done no matter how you feel. You know, those days that we wake up, feel like shit, don't feel like doing something, and it's just like, just getting shit done, no matter like how you feel. So I think just being incredibly disciplined, that's what I think of when I think of alpha. And being a provider.
A provider.
Yeah.
And how do you describe yourself in one word?
Passionate, enthusiastic.
I would say passionate for sure.
Yeah.
Very passionate.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
What sucks for me?
Next for you.
Oh, what's next for you?
That's my voice. What sucks for you? What is next for you?
Yeah, so
what's coming up for Liam?
It's really like I put a lot of time on trying to get a wellness center opened, and I put pause that I think 3 months ago, and I'm so happy I did that because it's just freed up some of my space. I've just been trying to do a bit too many things at once where I haven't given myself like true focus. So now it's like, okay, just on Neurodose, just on start building out a personal brand online. I'm seeing how important that is from an aspect of, I used to think of social media like, oh, I don't want to be that guy. Everyone like, you know, setting up the camera. I don't want to be that guy. Like,
I get it.
Talking, speaking to the camera, like, you know, all about you. But I've changed my frame, and I can use this tool to reach more people, to hopefully help more people, and to get out of my way and stop being, you know, a little bitch. Like,
Yeah.
just
That's fair.
So focusing on that, and then the blueprint as well. So based on that, I had a few people reach out and ask to be coached. So I'm going to build a coaching program.
That's awesome.
And take 3 to 5 clients on in the new year. And yeah, that really fires me up. I really like that. So
I love that.
That's what's next.
Okay, so we are going to go hit a workout.
Let's go.
All right, then we're going to do a little sauna, ice bath, Q&A. But before we leave, where can people find you?
Yeah.
How can they contact you?
Instagram's best. Liam Donovan. That's where, you know, at least most of my time is spent. And I do free consults. So if anyone hears this, they have questions to do with microdosing, peptides, anything, mental health, human optimization, you can book a free consult. And yeah, I'd love to chat with them.
Awesome. Okay, let's go get that workout in. We love you guys.
Question.
Yes, question.
All right, so
Make sure you speak louder so we can hear you.
yeah. So question about you talked about attention deficit disorder with microdosing. What about OCD?
Yes. You know what? I'm unsure on that one.
Okay.
I'm unsure on OCD. I'm going to have to look into that one. Yeah.
Okay. And then what about like dementia or Alzheimer's?
Yes, it can definitely help. 100%. I have clients who take it for Alzheimer's, and they've found that's very helpful. And it's just fascinating because like the microdosing and psychedelics, it's opening up new neural pathways in your brain. So when you have a neurologic disease or a mental health condition, I like to explain it like this. So when you have like a slope that recently just had tons of snowfall, you go up this mountain and you go down a tube and you kind of walk up and you go down that same path, right? So you've ingrained it. And that's kind of what's happening in someone's brain when there's a neurologic disease or a mental health condition. And when you take psychedelics or microdosing, it allows you to go down the hill in a different way. So maybe a different thought pattern. And you can just find basically new thoughts and new patterns in your brain from the psychedelics. So yes, it can help.
Okay. What about age? Like I know some young teenagers suffering from depression, but what is too young?
That's a good question.
It's a tough one.
Don't get in
Do you
trouble.
want my
Don't get in trouble.
I'll give you a business answer or my personal answer. Business answer, wait till you're 18. Personal answer, I believe psychedelics can be very beneficial from a young age. I'm not going to give you exact age, but if my kid was 12 years old and they were struggling with depression, I would give them microdosing. So that's my personal. But business, wait till 18.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. We love you, and see you soon. Ciao.